Alright, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for him here in South Florida at my buddy's house that I've known for like many years. I've made many videos here on my channel with him in the past. Put links down below to some of those. But basically we're at his house here in the middle of mango season, guys. And basically this guy, Paul, has basically a 1/4 acre property, and he has over 100, maybe 150 fruit trees planted, including a lot of mango trees, guys. He loves his mangoes so much. And as you guys can see, he's got mango abundance. This guy, Paul, grows more food than he needs for his family, plus he takes care of his neighbor's property. He has properties like next door that he even grows more fruit on. And actually, Paul will basically cut down trees that have fruit that are not good quality, so he'll plant fruit trees in their place that are of better quality, that taste better to him. So he's like really a picky eater, you know. Like I will say that Paul is to basically fruits as I am to vegetables. I'm really picky about my vegetables, man. It's hard for me to go in the store to buy like kale, for example, because it's like garbage, man. Like it was picked, it's shipped, it's 2 weeks old, it's starting to wilt, starting to turn brown, starts to taste really bad once it gets old, right? Meanwhile, Paul grows all his own mangoes he needs. He doesn't go to the store to buy Mexican mangoes or Ecuadorian mangoes like all of us fools. He has all his own best mangoes. He'll even freeze them and then thaw them in the wintertime so that he can eat them even when they're not in season as well. So, I mean, he has incredible mangoes. And actually, the amazing thing about Paul is that although he has all these mangoes and like, you know, dozens of mangoes ripen every day. I was with him earlier. He had a picker and he was picking ripe fruits and brought him inside. He only eats 4 mangoes a day, right? And he doesn't eat tons of fruits like a lot of raw vegans out there. He doesn't say fruit's the best. You want to eat a ton of it and it should be the only thing you eat, right? He only eats 4 mangoes a day. And here's the guy that's like growing the best fruit. He cuts down trees that don't taste good to plant better ones. And then yet he grows the best stuff. He only eats 4 mangoes a day. So what's up with that, man? Why is Paul only eating 4 mangoes a day? And no, he doesn't eat other fruits, right? He limits his fruit consumption to not eat a lot of fruit because he wants to have room for other things that may be more valuable or more important for him to eat. So in this episode, the first thing I want to do is I want to show you guys the insanity of the amount of fruits that Paul is growing here as I walk around hand cam style with the video to just show you like the insanity of fruits he's growing. And then we're going to sit down with Paul and ask him why he only chooses to eat 4 mangoes or other fruits a day, like small amounts in comparison to other things, and why he just doesn't pig out on literally some of the world's best fruit that he grows here, because he's picking this earlier, he's like, oh, that's overripe, man, I'm going to give that to my friend. Oh, this one like is a little bit early, so I'm going to send that to my friend in New York. And like, it's good to have Paul as your friend because he'll send you some ripe fruit that maybe is like a reject for him, but good for other people, right? He's really particular about, oh, he just brought out to me a jackfruit. He's like, try this jackfruit, John, what do you think of it? And it's a nice orange one. And I'm eating it, I'm like, it's a 5. And he's like, yeah, it's about a 5. And he's like, oh, I'm not even gonna eat it, man. It's not worth wasting my time because I got better jackfruit, right? Like, this is how picky Paul is. And then yet, he only eats small amounts of high quality fruit. Right? He's a trip. We'll learn why, but let's go ahead and give you guys a mouth-watering tour of all the fruits that he could be picking and eating and how much abundance he has here in South Florida. Many people would consider this like the raw foodist paradise. All right, so we're just gonna tour you guys around, and like he knows all the names of the fruits he's growing. Every tree is pretty much a different variety that tastes a little bit different. Maybe some are from India, some are from Asia, some have a more classic flavor, some have a more floral flavor, some have a more of a, you know, turpentine flavor. You know, here's some mangoes here, there's more down there. This is just one tree, guys. I mean, these are nice, huge mangoes. These are not like those stupid, small, junky ones, and he only picks these when they're absolutely ripe. Just so much there. I mean, this is just a small tree, like a dwarf size. And of course, he's got other things besides the mangoes, including he loves the soursops. Well, let's go over these trees. This is some of his best performing mangoes right here. This is actually one of my favorite mangoes. It's called the lemon meringue, and actually, one day I brought some lemon meringue up to Paul, and he'd never tried it before. He ate it, he's like, wow, John, those are amazing. And then he ended up planting 2 trees, and nowadays, these are some of his best performing trees. You guys can see there's just fruits there, fruits there, fruits over there. I could just go over here, there's like more fruits hanging here, more fruits hanging here, more, there's a cluster of 5 fruits there, 3 fruits there. Now, yes, they don't all ripen at the same time. Oh, there's a ripe fruit right there. See how yellow it is? That's a fruit that he wants to pick before it gets overripe. He's got fruits up there, up on the top of the tree that even go up and up and up. And there's just more fruits over here. I mean, that's the same tree hanging more fruits over there. He's got another tree here. He did a multi-graft on this tree, so it has multiple varieties of mangoes. More mangoes over here, more there, more hanging over there. And actually, I want to show you guys the jackfruit tree real quick. All right, I want to show you guys this jackfruit, which is a seedling jackfruit tree. Walking underneath here, we got 2 jackfruits there, 2 jackfruits here, 2 jackfruits over there, 2 jackfruits up there, 2 more over there, a whole bunch in the tree way back there, 3 more jackfruits over there. Here's a jackfruit over here. We go up a little bit, there's a jackfruit there. I mean, this dude has lots of fruit, but yet he limits his fruit consumption, man. Long-term raw vegan limits his fruit consumption. What's up with that? Well, actually, before we tell you about that, let's go ahead and show you guys one more fruit tree he's growing that has massive abundance of fruits. They're actually quite good. All right, so check this tree out, guys. This is known as a white sapote. Now, I grew up on the West Coast, and I had, California grown white sapote, and I thought those were really good until Paul clued me in on these white sapotes. Now, yes, these white sapotes are a little bit more small, more torpedo-ish than the ones I've had in California. But this tree is loaded up with fruit. Look at all these fruits, right? Tons of fruits on there. And all you got to do to get a ripe one is not pick it off the tree, but you need to look at the ground and find some ripe ones on the ground over there. But nonetheless, for these fruits, he may eat more than 4 of them because they're a bit smaller. But he's not just like gorging himself on like mono meals of fruit, right? He eats other things in his diet and just doesn't eat just fruit. And that's the main point of this video. Even though he has some of the best fruits that money can't buy, but yet he doesn't eat a ton of them. So let's go ahead and find out why. All right, so now the pleasure of introducing you guys to Paul Nison. He's been on my channel many times before. Paul's a good friend of mine. He's been doing raw vegan for like 28 years, pretty much started the same time as me. And we've been on a very similar path, although basically he's still committed to all raw vegan, whereas, as you guys know, I'm eating some heat processed foods, maybe 10%. Some days a little bit more, some days less, some days all raw, But anyways, we're going to ask him, Paul, is it true that you have all these amazing fruits that I showed people, but you only eat 4 mangoes a day? What's up with that?
Well, yeah, we're in mango season right now, and you can see there's hundreds of mangoes on the tree. And I have other fruits as well in the tree, jackfruit and other things. But years in the past, I've literally sat down and had a bunch of mangoes in one meal.
Like how many?
7 or 8, let's say.
Yeah.
But then I would wait a couple hours and have more mangoes.
But that's a fruitarian dream, right, Paul? That's what we're supposed to be eating, right? Gorging ourselves on the ripest, best fruit we could get.
I don't know. I mean, I'd consider myself... See, fruitarian, there's different categories of fruitarian.
Right.
But I'm a fruitarian, but I don't eat all sweet fruit. Besides leafy greens, I'm a fruitarian pretty much. But... I don't limit my fruit. I just don't overeat on it.
Yeah, big difference, right?
I've heard you mention limiting fruit. I don't limit my fruit. I love fruit, but I just don't overeat on it. And I think when you take in consideration the amount of sugar in it, at least for me, and how much access I have to it, I try to create restraints that goes beyond my feelings, because I feel like I can eat more if I want to eat more, but I don't know my limit. That's why I limit myself.
Yeah. Because it's hard, and especially if you're new, right? New people, like in my opinion, overeat on sweet fruits in many cases.
Well, everyone has their philosophy of how they're doing the raw diet and why, and we've changed many times over the years with that. And this is where I'm at now. It's like, look, I'm not going to cut it out completely. Maybe one day I will, but I love it and I grow it. And when I do eat it, to help control myself, I'm going to put that limit on it. Because if I don't, sky's the limit, and I might overdo it. And you don't know. The thing is, when you overdo it, you don't know when you're overdoing it until it's too late.
Exactly.
A watermelon's a great example. I could eat a whole watermelon, and then there's something called watermelon belly.
Yeah.
You just don't feel good. It's not a good feeling.
Exactly.
But when you're eating it, you don't feel it. You're like, this is amazing. It's cool. It's watery. But I know if I limit my watermelon, like regardless of how I feel, I'm not going to eat more than a certain amount. I save myself from running into that issue. 4 mangoes might be too much. They're very super sweet. They're one of the sweetest fruits in the world, especially when you get them right off the tree ripe. 4 mangoes might be too much. You know, what's too much and too little, that might be a personal thing, but, you know, I just do my best to eat enough but not go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is that if you're eating more mangoes, and that means you're automatically eating less of something else. So what are you cutting out when you're eating more fruit? Are you cutting out leafy greens? Are you cutting out non-sweet fruits? Are you cutting out little bits of nuts and seeds or seaweeds or other foods you could be eating instead? So Paul, so you only eat 4 mangoes, but what about like bananas or jackfruit? We were snacking on a few sample pieces of jackfruit earlier. Like, do you only eat 4 pieces, or do you like have what, a quarter of a jackfruit or a pound or what, or 2?
Well, like making these videos, it's interesting because you could say something, then somebody will see you eat a half or extra something. Like I try not to eat right now before noon, but I had a white chipotle I tasted before noon, so somebody can call you out. But yeah, I mean, I'll eat other fruit, but I do limit myself. Like even just now, I had 2 mangoes in there, and I had some jackfruit. You know, I might have a little bit of mamey. That's it. You know, so I won't just have 4 mangoes and that's the only fruit for the day. But if it is, I'm fine with that. You know, so I try to eat my sweets within a certain window, and then I eat my other meal not in the window. For me, what I found the big thing is, besides limiting the fruit, a big thing I found is not to mix my fats and my sugars. For me, that's a big thing. So in the evening, I'll have my salad meal, and there are some non-sweet fruits in there, like tomatoes and stuff, and with my avocado and stuff, so I'll have that for my second meal. But my first meal is usually some fruit.
Wonderful. Yeah, so like I also recommend eating an appropriate amount of fruit, right? For me, I've also found over the years that is less and less, like Paul, you know, maybe if I eat too much fruit, I'm maybe a little bit tired, maybe I'm some blood sugar, you know, things going on. I'm going to get a CGM, and actually that's the true way to know if you're overeating fruit. So you could actually just watch your blood sugar as you're eating the fruit, and if it goes crazy, then maybe that's a sign your body can't handle the fruit, even though your mind thinks you can, right? Because that's actually how your body reacts. And yes, maybe when you're younger you could handle more sweet fruits. That being said, you know, from us doing it for a long time, I would say, hey, get yourself used to eating more vegetables and non-sweet fruits now instead of later, because I believe it will pay you off in health benefits. So Paul, I'm sure people are thinking like, well, if Paul doesn't eat a lot of fruit, he's only eating 4 fruits, how does he get his calories? What is he eating in other parts of the day?
Well, back to the fruit thing, there was a time where I would just eat fruit before noon and then afternoon eat my other stuff. But now I'm at the point where I'm not even eating before noon, so I'm eating my first meal and then my second meal later on. So it's a consistently changing thing. But right now I live in a hot climate. I'm very active. I have fruit growing in the trap. Every excuse to eat more than just 4 mangoes, but I don't. And that's where I am now. That's where I feel is I'm okay, you know. I don't want to overdo it. As for what else I eat, where I get my calories, I really don't count calories, but I have my fruit meal, and then I mean, I do a juice. I'll do a juice before noontime. Not really calories there, but I just do it, and I get the greens, a lot of the minerals from the green juices and so on. And then my second meal is often like spinach or some other leafy green. I like in the wintertime I have a garden going on, so it's more fresher, but I'll get spinach or a leafy green with either avocado or nuts. Now, occasionally, it was more in the past, but now maybe 1 or 2 times a week I might have a raw food recipe. I went through a stretch for years, maybe 10, 15 years, where I didn't eat recipes at all. But then I went on a fast, a 30-day fast, and then I kept thinking about the recipes, and after the fast I started doing more of the raw recipes. So now I do it once or twice a week. I'll do the recipes, which I really enjoy. A couple of nights ago I had a raw pizza. But in general, my average diet is just either a salad or a handful of greens and an avocado. That's another thing. I grow avocados here. I have like over 10 avocado trees.
Yeah, and you don't binge on those either.
No, I limit myself. I mean, if I buy the small house ones from the store, 2 at most. But with the big flower avocado ones, I can't even put it in one whole one. And it's like that's a question. It's like when I plant my fruit. It's like, you know, I love different varieties of stuff, but if you got 100 of avocados on a tree and you only eat 1 a day, I mean that's a lot that you're not eating. So it's like just trying to figure that out. Like I got way too more fruit than I need, and that's a lot of things. People say, can you freeze your fruit? I mean, I don't mind freezing bananas, but I don't really like freezing mangoes and stuff, even though you can. So I like to eat it fresh, and I do like to give away a lot of food. and share it with other people, trade people with it. It's like a commodity, trading fruit for stuff. But I'm trying to expand the seasons though, so now I'm getting more into other fruits that are in season when mangoes aren't in season. The two big things here are mangoes and avocados, and mainly, but there's other things. Star fruit, when star fruit's in season, I make a fruit punch out of star fruit. I normally don't like fruit juice, but I make celery, beets, and star fruit, and it's like a fruit punch.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing.
I gotta try that one of these days.
So I've been doing that. I also like to do lemon juice with miracle fruit. That's nice. And I do mix fruit with something. I like oranges with tahini. I do like that combination, and I do that sometimes. But you can't find good oranges in Florida. You can't even find them in a health food store. You know, certain times of the year you'll find good oranges from California, but even there, sometimes they are good, sometimes they're crap. So, you know, you gotta figure it out. But calories-wise, I don't count my calories, but I know how I eat, and I know how I am, and I'm very active.
Wonderful. Yeah, so like to share how I eat very similar to Paul, not exactly as regimented. So like I'll do usually 2 or 3 juices in the morning. They're usually like a quart. So I'll do like a green juice, and then I might have some kind of vegetable juice. And then after that, then I'll eat a fruit meal, you know, whatever it is. I try to do, actually my meals of fruit are like try to be rich in berries whenever possible. Of course, some days this time of year where I live, it's like stone fruit season. So I'm eating like peaches and apricots, had a bunch of cherry meals, and I got mulberries on my tree that I'll eat, you know, just like meals of. I love my fresh mulberries. And then after that, I'll have like a big salad or raw soup, and then I might include some heat processed food after I eat my raw salad or raw soup, you know, just to get extra calories and then have more diet diversity. So in some ways, we're actually eating very similar, like a juice, a fruit meal, then a salad meal, you know, at night, to just keep it super simple, super easy. We're eating like one fruit meal, not multiple fruit meals.
Yeah, and I'm not eating late at night.
Yeah, see, that's my problem. At nighttime. Yeah, he's on a daylight diet, and I eat a bit later than I should be, and I'll admit that. It's one of my challenges.
Yeah, so that's important to me, and sometimes it's a situation where I might find myself even later, but if it gets to a certain time, I definitely won't eat. Like, I like to eat around 4 or 5 o'clock the latest, but there are times where it might be 7 o'clock I might eat, but I hardly ever eat after 8 o'clock.
Wow.
And I feel okay with that, you know, and a lot of the way we eat in general should be dictated by our sleep, and our sleep is so important and so neglected, and it's very important, you know, and, you know, I'm really into fitness, but if I haven't gotten enough sleep, I'm foregoing the fitness. You know, sleep to me is
more important than fitness.
It's more important than just about anything when it comes to health. Yeah. It's so important. And
more important than diet.
One of the things that I want to work on is I get up very early in the morning. I have to. I want to. I like being up early, and it's one of the worst, probably the worst health habit that I have. And I know it's bad, is waking up with an alarm clock.
Oh, man, I don't wake up with an alarm. I eat late, but I don't wake up with an alarm clock.
But the thing is...
But it's probably better to not eat late and...
The thing is, if you have to wake up with an alarm clock to make sure you're up now, there are many times I get up before my alarm clock goes off, but I have to set the alarm to make sure I'm up, and I don't like to cut my sleep short, but what I tell people to do is figure out how many hours of night sleep you need, and I think it's at least 8 for our health. So if you got to be up at a certain time in the morning, count 8 hours before and make sure you're sleeping by that time. So, like, the only day I get to sleep in without an alarm really is on Saturday. And often I go to sleep on Saturday, let's say 11 or midnight, because I'm doing stuff Friday night. And without getting up with an alarm, I know I'm often up at 8 o'clock. So I know 8 hours is where, like, I measure what I need. Sometimes if I had a rough week, I might sleep more, but I'm usually up around 7 hours, actually. So if I do use an alarm and it's less than 7 hours, I know that's not healthy. But if I know I slept like 8 hours or longer and I use an alarm, it's not as detrimental, because sleep is another word for healing. And when you're sleeping, your body's healing. And if you cut your sleep short, you're cutting your healing short. So you can get away with a lot of bad habits if you get enough sleep. But if you don't get enough sleep, you're putting yourself in great danger. So sleep is really important. And the food we eat and when we eat dictates that. So if you eat late at night and you go to sleep soon after that, you're not getting the proper sleep, because your body's digestion. So I like to eat stop eating as early as possible, and have many hours before I go to sleep. And also sleeping with turning and all this stuff and getting up in the middle of the night, that's not true sleep. That's not good sleep. So one thing I love about my life and how it's turned out is I put my head on that pillow and I'm out until the morning, and I love that. And so there's a lot of factors when it comes to health and things, and don't compare yourselves to us.
Yep. But you're on your own journey.
Yeah, but we learn a lot, and there are people out there that are just, the stuff they're doing and the mistakes I've seen people make, but they gotta learn for themselves sometimes.
Yep, right on, Paul. So yeah, I would also concur that sleep is super critical, more important than fitness and also even diet. So yeah, guys, dial in your sleep. I have a blackout curtain to make my room completely black. I try to go to bed as early as possible. Stop eating as early as possible, and at least if I eat late, I stay up a few more hours to let my body digest before going to bed, which is then probably too late. But then I wake up without an alarm clock to let my body wake up naturally, and I don't really care what time that is because I'm able to do that because I set my own schedule and whatnot. So yeah, get enough sleep, guys. So probably the last question for you today, Paul, is what tips would you give to people that might have challenges because they think they're eating or they're overeating fruit, too much fruit for them personally? Like what would you say to them so that they could start reducing and maybe and getting other sources of calories instead, and what should they be eating?
Well, people don't eat, from my experience, people are not eating for nutrition. People are eating for pleasure.
Yep.
And the people that are lacking certain pleasure in life tend to eat more. And when your life is satisfied, you can control your overeating. A lot of people talk about addiction to foods and sugars and everything else. No, it's a lack of pleasure in life.
Wow.
And that's what we want to eat more, to fulfill that pleasure with something. People that are busy doing things they love, they can easily go without even eating.
Yep.
and feel perfectly fine. But when you're bored or when you don't have certain pleasure in your life, you're going to take that out on food, and you're going to hopefully find the best food. But that's where it gets dangerous, because if it's a good sweet food or some other addictive food and you don't have anything else to do with your time, you can end up getting yourself in trouble and overeating. So if you do have addictions to overeating, figure out why. Some people might, I got all these trees and everything else, and if it was the 20-year-old me or the 25-year-old me, I'd be overeating till I got myself sick. But I did get myself sick with eating junk food when I was younger, so I've always looked at the overeating thing, and I'm not perfect by any means, but I have control over my eating and my eating habits. And the average person that misses a meal, they're like, I got to get home and eat, or I got to, if it's gotten to 8 o'clock and I didn't eat, well, I'll just have to eat in the morning. And if I really, really need something, I'll have a cup of lemon water, or in the morning, if I'm really, really hungry, I'll have a juice. But yeah, so try to find pleasure in your life and then you won't have to worry about finding it from food.
Wow, yeah, great. No, man, since I've been on vacation, Paul, I run in from video to video, and I'm so excited doing what I'm doing. Actually, I forget to eat, and actually, I'm not hungry, so that's straight up. But when I'm home and if we don't have as much things to do, I tend to eat a little bit more, right?
And so, you saw me yesterday. I had a busy day yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
And you saw how I do it. I like a nice salad with avocados in there and tomatoes. But if I'm busy, I'll just grab spinach.
Right out of the box and eat it while he's driving.
Or if I have it in my garden, I'll grab it in my garden before I go. Same thing. I had those pumpkin seeds, So, yeah. So here we are now, and it's 1 o'clock. I just had some mangoes and jackfruit. And I'm probably tonight I'll have a salad. That's pretty much it. So, think ahead of where you're going to be, what food's going to be available, so you don't have to run for something else. And, and enjoy yourself. If you're not enjoying doing this, it's not worth it. And for those of you that say, 4 mangoes is not enough, I could eat much more, and it doesn't matter, I could eat as many as I want, you can. Do it and enjoy your life. But, I tell this about everyone, whether they're eating McDonald's or they're eating fruit or they're eating whatever, I say, do what works best for you. And if you find what you're doing is working best for you, there's no reason to change. But be wise enough to, if it's not working best for you, if you run into an issue, start changing some things. Because you keep doing the same thing and expect the same result, that's the definition of insanity. You got to change what you're doing to change the result.
Right, yeah, and much like I and Paul have learned, our diets have changed and I would say evolved over the years and become different, and maybe they will do that for you also. The other thing I'd say is that if you're eating mangoes, you feel great now, think about how am I going to feel in 10 years if I continue to eat this level of sweet fruit, right? Our bodies change over time, guys. I'm not going to say they don't. Like, I've experienced that myself. I don't handle fruit as well as I used to. You know, do blood sugar testing, get a CGM to monitor yourself, to double check in, because, like, I don't want you guys to go down to, you know, do this, whatever you think you're doing now, which is great and working for you great now and you feel great now, but then 10 years down the line, man, you run into a big roadblock, and because you did this thing for all years, like people that, you know, smoke or eat McDonald's think, oh yeah, I'm healthy now, it tastes great, I feel fine. 10 years down the road, they die of a heart attack, you know. Things like that have happened to people eating a raw food diet because they, you know, they thought they were feeling great, but, you know, they weren't checking their health markers, they weren't checking their microbiome test, and something came up, and, you know, that's where I'm kind of like trying to like check in and dial in what I'm doing to basically make sure my markers and microbiome is the best as possible. That in the future, right, my future me is going to be healthy as well. So yeah, I want you guys to take into consideration your future you, because most people unfortunately don't in our instant gratification society that I'm not the biggest fan of myself personally. All right, so Paul, if somebody wants to watch your videos, because you have your own raw food vegan channel that you have tons of knowledge, tons of information that I don't believe gets viewed enough. There's plenty of bozos out there with raw food channels that get views a lot more than you, and I think you should have a little more views. How can somebody find your channel and where are you located?
Go to Raw Life Health Show on YouTube, Raw Life Health Show. That's one of the main places to see my health videos. I got other videos out, different channels, but Raw Life Health Show for the raw food one. And I also have a membership site, rawlifehealthshow.com. And I normally say, you know, like you do, click the bell for the subscription and to be notified, but YouTube doesn't notify people on a lot of my videos, so don't rely on that. Go check there. I post videos every couple of days, and check there every couple of days and you'll see new videos. Raw Life Health Show.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll put that link down below in the description, as well as pinned to the first comments. You guys can check out Paul's videos. I highly encourage you guys to check out Paul. He's a wealth of knowledge and has solid information, and I definitely would recommend you check his videos out before you check out other people online. So anyways, in any case, if you guys enjoyed this episode here today at Paul's, interviewing Paul and why he only eats 4 mangoes despite having all these hundreds of amazing fruits, please be sure to give this a big thumbs up. Also, more importantly, share this with other people in the raw food community that may be overeating the fruits. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on new and upcoming episodes. I'll be coming every 5 to 7 days, even though I show up, or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the bell, and I hope YouTube notifies you about my new videos as they come out, or just come back to my channel every week because I'm posting new videos every week. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about eating more fresh fruits and vegetables. I'll put some links down below in the description, as well as videos I've made in the past with Paul. The last time I was here, we made an epic video sharing over 50 years of raw vegan experience with some of our opinions on many different topics. That's quite an interesting video as well. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always best.